Madam Mayor, we are live and recording. You can begin whenever you wish.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Welcome everybody to our regular council meeting. Today, of course, is June 17th. Before we dig into the agenda, just remind everybody that the meeting is going to be recorded and live streamed to the Township's YouTube channel. And council, as is always the case, please raise your hand if you want to speak on a matter, and I will call on you at the appropriate time. Starting with the roll call, we have Deputy Mayor Nelson. We have Councillor Watt, Councillor Johnston, and of course myself, Heather Watson, and a number of members from staff joining us this afternoon. So with quorum of council in attendance, I will call the meeting to order, beginning with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the lands which are part of the 1818 Treaty 20 and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe bands of the Great Ojibwe Nation. We offer our gratitude to the Ojibwe for their care and knowledge of the lands on which we work, live, and enjoy. May we honor and respect their teaching and our treaty obligations as we grow together. And we'll just pause for a moment of silent reflection. Okay. Of course, council, the agenda was distributed last week. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing nothing, we're just looking for an adoption of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councillor Johnston, all in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 6, we have the regular council meeting minutes from June 3rd. Just looking for a motion to receive and approve those. Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Johnston, all in favor? And that motion also carries. There are a number of items under consent. Is there any item that council would like to hold for discussion later on in the agenda? Councillor Watt?
My apologies.
Thank
If
you.
I could, please, could we pull out the one from the BPOA, just so that all council has an option to say whether they want to go or not?
Sure, okay, so that will be discussed then under item, we'll move 7.1 over to 12.7 on the agenda. Councillor Johnston?
Yeah, 7.7, the appraisal form on the severance. I would like to talk about that when that, and not receive that at the time we're receiving the others.
Okay, so we'll move that then, will become 12.8. Just making a note of that. Any other items to hold to discuss? So could I please get a motion for the remaining items? So everything under item 7, save and except for 7.1 and 7.7. Councillor Johnston, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. We have no delegations, petitions, or presentations. So on to section 9 for the public comment period. We have 2 speakers who registered by the deadline this week, starting with Councillor Adam Vervoort, speaking on item 10.4, the council vacancy declaration. And we have you joining us from Zoom. Hello.
Thank you, Mayor Watson. Through you, I realize the comments I'm about to make are kind of perhaps a bit preemptive given the agenda here regarding 10.4, the Township Council vacancy declaration, since that is coming up a little bit later in the agenda. But first of all, I just want to say thank you very much to my fellow members of council, to staff, and most importantly, the community. I moved to the Norwood area back in December of 2018, and it was truly a great experience in the community, and developed many good friendships with neighbors and other people around the community. Very recently here, I've decided to relocate back home to Western Ontario to be closer with family after some tragic circumstances here this past winter. So I said I would keep this very short because it was meant to be largely a thank you, a huge thank you to council, to staff, and most importantly to the community for their support over the last number of years. And wishing everyone in the community all the very best in the upcoming years here.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your comments and for your time on council. No, but I guess that's it. We don't even have a motion on this. I always forget that. All right. Well, thank you very much again, and we appreciate your comments and your service to the community.
Thank you very much.
Okay, on to item 9.2. We have Mike Mazzucato wanting to speak on item 10.6, the ice storm wrap up and MDRA funding report. Please, sir.
Hi, my name is Mike. I've been talking with Todd regarding this. I guess there is a cutoff June 1st for taking bush from the ice storm. We have a cottage.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mazzucato, we're going to ask you to get a little bit closer to
Okay.
the microphone so it can be picked up online.
Is that better?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I was saying that I've been talking to Todd and a couple other people so far. And then I was told there was a council meeting coming up, and usually I come up Tuesdays, go back Wednesday to Mississauga. We have a cottage. We've had it for about 23 years on White Lake. So I wasn't aware, I guess, because I wasn't doing anything. I didn't have any emails coming or anything regarding the cutoff. So I was taking 2 to 3 loads every week that I came up. The first week there was no power. The second week there was no power. So I wasn't staying. Basically, I was just coming up, doing work, and then going back home. So when I took my last load, they said, you can't bring any more. This is it. We're cut off. And that's when I started to look into trying to get an extension. So that's what I'm asking for tonight. I was working on it today, and what I'll do is I'll switch, because I'm trying to get it, if possible, to be able to take it to Halls Glen. That's much closer for us. And basically, I come up by myself. I do it myself. I'm retired 5 years ago. So I can't really, not complaining, I can't afford to have somebody come and do it. It's too expensive. So I do what I can myself. So that's all I'm asking, is an extension of possibly a month. That's it.
Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much for your request. If we could just get you to turn that microphone off. Thank you very much, Mr. Mazzucato, and council will discuss that when the report comes forward further down the agenda. Okay, moving on to item 10.1, the report and capital project status. Just looking for any questions from council on that report. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. There's a couple items on here under the Parks Recreation. One is the lime kiln restoration, and the other one is the consultant fees for the Arena Facilities Future Ad Hoc Committee. They're both 2023. So could we maybe in the next couple, 2 or 3 months, whatever, just get an update on where they're sitting and maybe bring that up to speed a little bit? Thank you.
Through the mayor to Council Rod, absolutely. We'll make sure we bring a report forward, probably to the committee of the whole in August, would be what I would target.
Any other questions from council concerning the report and capital project status? Seeing nothing, just looking for a motion to receive that, please. Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councillor Watt. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to item 10.2, the 2026 budget schedule, and that will be over to you, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Before you is Report Treasurer 2025-17, discussing the proposed 2026 budget meeting schedule. The budget starts in July, and but that's more internally. Really what we're looking for council to be looking at are the council meeting dates, which are proposed to begin October 14th. We're proposing a first draft presentation from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In the past few years, we've split this day up and done departments over 2 different days. The current proposal is to do those over 1 day. I think it's just a little bit more efficient. We have everyone together and just to tackle it all at one time. A week later, we would be holding a public meeting. The public meeting at this point would allow the public to comment on the draft as it's presented from staff. Then at the second draft, council could consider any of those comments and make any changes as necessary and requested. The goal would be to be having a final budget December 16th, and staff be directed to prepare the final budget documents for January. This would allow us to kind of finalize the budget, wrap it up more or less by year end, which is always my preferred approach. The second part of this report is discussing a budget target. Last year, we tried an approach of having a target of CPI, and kind of looking for feedback on if that is council's wish again for this year. We wouldn't know what that is at this time. Last year, we used September CPI. Just given the time frame is a little bit earlier this year, I would probably be proposing to use August, as we would get that in September. So with that, open to any comments, questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Council, any questions? Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, the only question I'd have right off is that how soon would we be hopefully getting some word from OPP? Any idea? Or whoever?
We typically get the draft budget October, November, in terms of, or not draft, we get the final, usually more October, December, in that time frame, in my experience. But I should comment, they are starting to hold some webinars and presentations to talk about the legislation and how they bill us, and various things like that. We do know that there will be a larger increase. I don't think that's going to be avoidable this year. What it ultimately ends up being is only time will tell.
Thank you for that, Councillor Johnson. Any other questions from council? Okay, so we're looking for a motion on the schedule as well. Mr. Kramer, you're looking for some sort of direction as it relates to a budget target. Do we want to break these apart and deal with the schedule and then talk about a budget target, council, or how would you like to address this?
Chair, I'll make a motion to receive the presentation as far as the template that we've got here for the scheduling for council starting October 14th. I'll make the motion that we follow that unless something else comes up.
Okay, does anyone want to second that? Deputy Mayor Nelson will second that. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? And that carries. Now let's address the other question as it relates to a target. What would you like to do with that, council? Deputy Mayor, don't forget to use your mic, please.
Yes, through the chair. Paul, do you have any indication, is it probably going to be, it's probably going to be close to what it was last year? Are you thinking, or what type of parameters are you thinking it will be?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Nelson, or Deputy Mayor Nelson. It's really difficult to tell, especially given all the variables that play right now in the economy. You know, even last year, I think we look and the ultimate target for September, the CPI for September was the lowest of all 12 months. It did spike back up. I think where our target was 1.6 last year. It spiked back up to 2.5 later in the year. So I cannot say for sure what it would be. It's been trending around 2, give or take a few percentage points.
Thanks for that, Paul. Just a comment I have on that. It's like looking at a crystal ball, and sometimes when we go through our budget, it's not even so much. It's nice to meet that target, but we also have needs maybe more than once. And most times it's more needs. And if we look at the OPP, what that comes in, it's, a lot of this stuff is out of our control. And we can't, we still have to run the township. So I don't know whether we need to, or just my comment is, I don't know whether we need to stress so much about a target. It's nice to put a target on, but I don't know whether that is always possible to stay with that target and still fulfill our needs for our township residents. So just a comment I have, we could definitely put a target on, but I don't see where we need to, that's a definite target that we're going to meet. I don't know whether that's even possible. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you for your comments, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that, that I think when you have a meeting with the managers, I think we got to stress that it's not the time for anything more than what we have got to have. Like last year, what we did in ours was, you know, something around 6%, whatever. And then all of a sudden with the county and the education, everything, like I've had, in all the years I've been around, I've had more people in the last year say, my God, how are we going to afford this? And I said, I say that right off because all of a sudden we look at example, 6%. Well, it's not 6%. It's put a 20% in 3 years. That's unbelievable. Like where do we stop? I do know we got some big projects lined up and we got to continue with them. But all I say is that when you're talking to the managers, they've got to be told that they're going to have to do with a lot less. However, that's their whatever they got to do. So I like that, giving that message to them.
Councillor Johnson, can I get clarification on what you mean by doing that they need to get their job done with a lot less? I'm just wondering if, like, is that a target of a reduction? Is it what does that mean? As I'm actually trying to prepare a number and go through the budget meetings.
So, through the chair, yeah, if it can be a reduction, by all means, I would love to see a reduction. However you can do it, like for instance, the vehicles and all that. Hopefully, we're set that we don't have to spend another X number of dollars on those things, especially when we're going this year. Hopefully, get moving on the building of the roads and fire building. So I'm not in that position financially to tell you what to do. I'm just saying we've got to slow down. We've got to think of more than just us around the table here. There's other people out there that, you know, like people are hurting right now. I'm looking into that. I think all you do is look outside the door.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I have Councillor Watt.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. If we're going to set some kind of a target, I would be happy with the CPI, save and accept the levy for the building and the unknown OPP, and we'll just have to kind of play with that one otherwise, but I would be happy to go with the CPI off the start as a starting point and see where we go from there.
Thank you for your comment, Councillor Watt. I have a bit of a clarification on that because I think where we got into trouble last year with the budget was we had set it at CPI, but then it wasn't just OPP police, like the OPP budget that came in extremely high, but other ABCs, the boards and committees, I think Orca came in above CPI as well. So, and we have existing contracts for, you know, software and for the operations that, you know, those contracts come up and, you know, those are dedicated, almost like pre-committed commitments that we have, right? If we've gone into multi-year contracts. So I wonder if we can look at CPI for the aspects that are absolutely within our control, not including OPP, not including other boards and committees that are kind of third party to us. And then when those, I'm going to say bills, requests come forward from those parties, we can address those kind of as a standalone, but then look at the total number outside of those individual boards. Mr. Kramer, is that something that we can, like, can you do that through isolating those expenses out?
To you, Madam Mayor, sorry, there was a few things said there. So just to clarify, so yes, I can separate out boards and agencies. As you said, that was the approach that I took last year. For the other expenses, in terms of trying to determine what we have pre-existing contracts on, I think where there would be larger increases, we could highlight those and any points that are putting pressures on the budget. The easiest would be to show the township controlled departments as one, and then the boards and agencies separate.
Okay, thank you for that. And Councillor Watt, would that be in alignment with what you're thinking as well? Okay, thank you. Councillor Watt?
Thank you. Yes, as Deputy Mayor Nelson says, it's always a crystal ball, but we have to have a starting point somewhere. So, yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with the CPI, whatever it is at that particular time. And then if we can separate out the two, and then we're just going to have to adjust accordingly onto what somebody's asking for, what we're committed to give, and work it through like we have every year.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Watt, are you prepared to make a motion on that then? Is that a motion?
Madam Clerk? Okay, so we'll start with the CPI as a target rate and have the treasurer come back with a comparison of the what's we have to do and what we could do, kind of like that. So if he can separate that out for us, and then we'll take it in our first session from there and see how we can adjust.
Madam Clerk, have you captured that okay? Mr. Kramer, do you have any questions on that before we lock this in?
Just through Madam Mayor, just to clarify the motion, because I think the previous comment from the councillors stated that it would be CPI for township departments plus boards and agencies separate. Is that what the motion is saying? Okay.
Okay, CAO Davis.
I just want to also be clear. I think initially when Councillor Watt was speaking, he spoke to CPI for township departments, boards and agencies separated out, so we have a sense, and then we have a 1% levy related to the new build. Is that in the CPI or excluded? I think that's what I think we would seek some direction on that.
Councillor Watt, it's your motion.
And in my initial, that was going to be out of it. The CPI, that was not going to be part of the CPI. That's and one of the things that we have a known such as that and the OPP that I said. So I'd like those two separate and then keep out the boards and the daily running. That works for.
Okay, clear as mud. Deputy Mayor, are you seconding that motion? Thank you very much. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing nothing further, all in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. On to item 10.3. Back over to you, Mr. Kramer, for the development charge statement.
Through you, Madam Mayor, before you is Report Treasurer 2025-18 regarding the 2024 Development Charges Statement. This is the statement required under the Development Charges Act. And the motion is that the statement be received by council.
Okay, thank you for that short and sweet summary. Councillor
Through the
Johnson.
chair, I'd make a motion to receive it with a question after a second.
Okay, does anyone want to second that? Deputy Mayor Nelson, and back over to you, Councillor Johnson.
Through the chair again, with what I see here, do we take that into consideration? Example, the two that are a little higher, being the fire and roads. Do we dip into that when we do the budget? When we do our budget?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Last year, we undertook a development charge study, which outlined where development charges and which projects these funds will be allocated towards. These funds ultimately will be allocated towards the joint building. I believe the joint building took up all of our allocation in these services, both roads and fire. And so any development charges received for those services will go towards funding the joint building.
Any other questions? Any discussion on the motion? We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to item 10.4, the Township Council Vacancy Declaration, and that's going over to our clerk and Deputy CAO, Martina Chu.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as Councillor Verhort alluded to earlier in the public comment section, I have received a resignation letter from Councillor Verhort. It was submitted on May 30th, announcing his resignation. As soon as a member resigns in writing to the clerk, their resignation is considered effective immediately. Following this, council must declare the member's seat vacant. Declaring the seat vacant requires council to simply pass a resolution identifying the same. So the report that's before you is recommending that council pass a motion to declare the seat vacant as per section 262 of the Municipal Act. And then I have a following report coming.
Thank you for that, Madam Clerk. Any questions? Sorry, no?
Make a motion that we declare the seat vacant.
Okay. And does anyone want to second that? Deputy Mayor Nelson, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to 10.5, the method to fill a vacancy for office of councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll apologize in advance. This report is quite lengthy. So when a vacancy occurs on council, council has to determine how to fill the vacant seat within the provisions of the Municipal Act for the remainder of the term. Rules applying to filling vacancies are found in section 263(5) of the Act. The following rules apply. One, that within 60 days after the day a declaration of vacancy is made with respect to a vacancy, the municipality shall A, appoint a person to fill the vacancy, or B, pass a bylaw requiring a by-election to be held to fill the vacancy. Section 256 of the Act also sets out eligibility requirements for persons qualified to be elected. To be an elector, the person under consideration must, on voting day, A, reside in the municipality or be an owner or tenant of land there or the spouse of such owner or tenant. B, be a Canadian citizen of at least 18 years old. And D, not be prohibited from voting. My report goes on to talk about how you could be prohibited from being an elector. I won't go into those details just to save some time. Section 264 of the Act provides that a person appointed or elected to fill a vacancy shall hold the office for the remainder of the term of the person they replace. In the current situation, council must fill the vacancy either by appointing a person who has consented to accept the office or by passing a bylaw declaring a by-election prior to August 15th. I'm just going to go over some of the options that are available to fill the vacancy. So option number 1 is the appointment process. So option 1A is appointment from the 2022 municipal election candidates. Council can appoint the next runner-up or any other candidate from the 2022 municipal election. Items to consider for this option is that it would result in the earliest filling of the vacancy through the appointment process. The clerk would seek written confirmation and qualification and confirm the individual is interested in accepting the appointment. An appointment bylaw and oath of office could be administered to the new councillor by early August 2025. It results in no financial impact to the municipality with the exception of staff time. A democratic process was undertaken in October 2022, but due to the time elapsed may not be seen as filling the vacancy through a democratic process. The next option is appointment by call for applications. Council may approve an appointment process which would permit interested and eligible persons to submit an application for appointment to council. If council were to go this route, we have created a timeline. So the following provides an overview of the tentative timeline to facilitate the appointment through the application process. So today, council would declare the vacancy and council would consider the methods and call for the appointment by application selected. Then on June 30th, 2025, the application period would begin. July 31st at 2 o'clock, the application period would end. Either the first or second week of August 2025, the applications would be considered by council at a special meeting. And prior to August 16th, a new councillor would be sworn into office at a special council meeting. So some of the considerations for this option, is it would result in earlier filling of the vacancy through the appointment process. Appointment bylaw and oath of office could be administered to the new councillor by mid-August 2025. Open call for interested eligible electors ensures that every interested and qualified individual is provided the opportunity to be considered by council and may reach more individuals than the election process. It's a transparent process as the presentations and questions of all eligible candidates must be conducted in an open council meeting. It is cost-effective. It is a cost-effective method that invites candidates who may otherwise be concerned about the financial requirements to conduct a campaign, which would eliminate barriers to participation. It does have a small financial implication of approximately $3,000 for advertising costs, which could be paid out of the clerk's office operational budget. There will be financial implications from staff overtime that will be needed to ensure that staff are available to receive nominations while also completing previously scheduled work plan items and day-to-day responsibility. Another option is direct appointment by council. Council can choose to appoint an eligible individual without a public process, as the Act does not prescribe any process. In order to make a direct appointment, a council member would have to nominate a candidate for appointment. The nomination would require a seconder. The motion would then need to be considered by council and voted on. If there was a majority vote, then that person could be appointed as the Dummer Ward councillor. This would result in the earliest filling of the vacancy through the appointment process. An oath of office could be administered to the new councillor at the August 5th, 2025 council meeting. It does not include any financial implications other than staff time. It may not be seen as filling the vacancy through a transparent or democratic process. Another option that council could use is to go through a by-election. So council can choose to fill the vacancy by directing a by-election to be held in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act. 65 of the Municipal Elections Act governs by-elections, requiring that the by-election be conducted as far as possible in the same way as the regular election, that nomination day must not be less than 30 days and not more than 60 days after the seat is declared vacant, and that voting day shall be 45 days after nomination day. If this option was selected, council would be required to pass a bylaw to ensure that the clerk can carry out the by-election. A draft bylaw to carry out the by-election along with draft voting methods bylaw can be presented to council at a special meeting in June if council so wished. Typically, by-elections employ the same method of voting as the preceding election, and staff recommend that internet and telephone voting be employed as an alternate voting method for this by-election. Staff have already spent considerable time in 2022 creating administrative processes, training, and procedures for internet and telephone voting. This is also the method that voters are accustomed to, as it was most recently used in both the 2022 and 2028 elections. If the method of voting is changed or paper ballots are introduced, it could result in significant delays and additional cost, as staff would be required to procure new vendors for paper ballots and tabulators and develop new procedures, training, and communication plans. The clerk shall be responsible for conducting the by-election in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act and all applicable policies and procedures. The MEA, the Act, purposely gives the clerk the authority to set a nomination day in any by-election to permit the time required to prepare for and conduct the legislatively compliant election. If council were interested in pursuing this option, staff have created a timeline. So when setting dates, staff will strive to adhere to the proposed timeline to ensure prompt representation for the Dummer Ward residents on council. Additionally, they would aim to allow for an ample campaign period, provide sufficient time for voters to cast their votes, and ensure compliance with all legislated deadlines. The following provides an overview of the tentative timelines and options for methods to deliver a by-election should council choose that method. So today, June 17th, council would consider the method. Late in the 4th week of June, a special council meeting would be held to pass a by-election bylaw and a voting methods bylaw. August 11th, the nomination period would begin. September 8th would be nomination day, so submissions for nominations would close at 2 p.m. that day. October 6th, advanced voting days would begin. October 16th would be voting day. Voting would end at 8 p.m. October 20th, official results would be announced. November 4th, the new Dummer Ward elected official would be sworn in at the council meeting. And December 19th would be the financial filing deadline for the candidates from the by-election at 2 p.m. Some considerations for by-election. So typically for the general election, the council and committee calendar is developed such that the committees and council meetings are not held during the month of the election due to the resources required to support logistics, training of election workers, and to facilitate advanced voting and election day. These preparations are extensive and require the full resources of the clerk's department. Should council decide to pursue a by-election, staff will bring a report to change the council meetings in October 2025. In addition, an election support worker may be necessary to execute and deliver the objectives in compliance with the legislation. In addition to clerk staff, assistance would be required from IT staff for the preparation and administration of the by-election. And staff from other departments may also be seconded to act as deputy returning officers during advanced voting days and on voting day. Staff have reached out to the city of Kawartha Lakes, who recently held a by-election. Their costs were approximately $70,000 for around 12,000 voters. The town of Port Hope held a by-election in 2024, and their costs were approximately $25,000 for approximately 4,000 eligible voters. Should council wish to hold a by-election, staff will need to reach out to our vendors from the 2022 election to receive quotes for necessary services. These costs will include the cost to retain internet and telephone voting providers, if that's council's direction, and Canada Post to mail the voter information letters. So any by-election conducted after January 1st, 2024 will use the services of Election Ontario for the preliminary list of electors. That's called the PLE for its voters list, as opposed to the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation's preliminary list of electors, which was previously used in the general election. As this is a new process, there may be additional fees and or processes to establish that must be established to integrate the PLE into the municipality's voter list management system data fix for recording electors. Some considerations for a by-election: it is a lengthy and more labor-intensive process, thereby leaving a vacancy for a longer period. Significant costs can arise from the voting costs, communication materials, voter list, auditor services, and other requirements. It ensures a democratic process is employed for all electors. It requires a more extensive communication plan to ensure the public and potential candidates are made aware of key election materials and candidate information. It results in the electors going to the polls in October 2025. And by-election turnout is historically lower than a general election. So as a result of council declaring a vacancy for the office of Councillor Douro Ward on June 17, 2025, council must select a method to fill the vacancy. Due to the time remaining in the term before the next election in October 2026, and due to the possible costs required to hold a by-election, staff are recommending one of the appointment options. And I'm available to answer any questions, and thank you for your patience as I went through the options.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, for your extensive, detailed report. Council, let's hand it over to you folks. Any questions from council? Seeing no questions. Oh, sorry, Councilor Watt? You're good? Okay, I'll jump in with a question. Specifically around the by-election option, just some clarity. Less than a half hour ago, we approved a budget timeline, which would include the original budget presentation happening in October. Per your report, it sounds like should we move forward with a by-election, we wouldn't be able to even entertain looking at a budget. I'm assuming, like, whether or not we ought to is a whole other question, but from a legal standpoint, is that something that would also be deferred then?
Through you, Madam Mayor, No, the budget would not be deferred as there's still a quorum of council to make budget decisions. But you may want to pause the budget process to allow any new appointee to be part of those discussions to represent their ward. Further, if there was a by-election, I would be bringing a report to change some of those meeting dates.
Right. So the public meeting dates, like the October meeting dates would be changed, is where I was going with that.
Yes, sorry, Madam Mayor, that's correct. Yeah, we would have to change those dates to allow sufficient time for the election to take place, the appointment, and we only have so much staff capacity.
Right, okay, understood, thank you. Deputy
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on that by-election, do you have any idea roughly what the cost would be for to have a new counselor for 1-year term?
So through you, Madam Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, do you mean the cost to hold the election or the cost or the honorarium paid to the new person? Sorry.
Sorry, the cost to hold the by-election, the election.
Very good. So through you, Madam Mayor, the Dummer ward has approximately 4,035 qualified electors as defined by legislation. In looking at the Port Hope by-election that just took place in 2024, using very similar methods to those used in Douro-Dummer, they paid $25,000 for their by-election, which does not include their staff time. So we would be looking at 25,000 plus additional staff time and perhaps additional resources.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councillor Johnson, were you motioning to say something? You look like you were going to hit the mic.
Well, I'm not sure where you're going next, so I was kind of just holding my breath to know where you're going next.
I
But if you're
appreciate
looking
your
for a
patience.
motion, I'm going to make a motion right now that we follow option 1A.
Option 1A, so appointment from the 2022 municipal election candidates. Okay. Does anyone want to second that motion? Councillor Watt, you're seconding that? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Looking over these, I read this over 2 or 3 times over the last few days over the weekend, and to me, the most honest and prudent and respectable way to do this is to offer it to the runner-up. There was 2 people ran in this ward, and Adam won, Sheila didn't, but she's certainly qualified to do it. She's got all the training. So, I mean, there's going to be cost savings here that we don't have to initiate someone in new training modules and everything else. And I think it's just respectful that be the first offer that this council makes is to the runner-up.
Thank you for your comments. Any other discussion on the motion? Councillor Watt, a comment to your comment?
Sorry, what are our options if she turns it down? I guess we should know that before we, adjourn this section of the meeting.
Right, so I think staff would be looking for direction to we would have to give that direction, I think, at this point in time. So we might want to entertain a backup option should the runner-up not be interested in holding the seat or not eligible or whatever the case may be. So we might wish to have a second part to that motion just in case to move forward with time. And I see our clerk has something to say, so let's weigh in with the clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to add some information to that. So if council were to go with option 1A, I would reach out to the runner-up to see whether number 1, are they still eligible to hold office? And number 2, do they wish to hold the office? If they were, that would be quite simple. We would just continue on the path outlined in the report. But if they were not, I could ask council to call a special meeting so that you could consider the next options. So to provide you more time and direction on next steps if you wished. That would also allow me to formally present the appointment procedures for filling a council vacancy, should you go with option 1B.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I guess I'm just concerned, Madam Clerk, about the timeline. From a legal standpoint, legislation states that we need to effectively, if appointed, fill the seat within 60 days, which would be August 16th. I think you had spelled out in your report. So if option 1A was not an option for whatever reason, instead of coming back in a week or two for a special council meeting, I just wonder if it would be more time efficient to have an option discussed, a fallback position in the event that that's the case, whatever way we go, if it is by appointment, that is, so that staff have their next steps as opposed to having to come back to council and go through the administration of bringing that forward at a special meeting.
Through the chair, if you read 1A, it's got more than just a runner-up. It says, or any other candidate from the 22 municipal election. So I mean, there's more than just one. Right now, we're addressing one. But I mean, with that option, it gives us more if we wanted to reach out to other people.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what you see, Councillor Johnson. I'm missing it. It looks like 1A is very specific to the runner-up and what that,
To the chair, maybe I can read something different, or any other candidate from the 22 municipal election. Yeah,
or any other candidate. It's-
Yeah.
So they would have had to have been a candidate in the election.
yeah, that 1A says that, yeah.
So what you're suggesting is that we would, the motion that's been made and seconded under 1A
Yeah,
would be that we would go to the runner-up first
right.
and then open it up to anybody else who ran?
Well, that, we have that option.
Is that-
As it says right there, we have that option to open it up to any other candidate that ran in the election.
I understand. Is that the option that you want to
Yeah, I-
exercise?
Yeah, well, 1A, as we got it going right now,
Right.
and we have Tom made, maybe not a motion yet, but he suggested a person, which was a runner-up. And, and then we still have options in that category if we had to. That's what I'm getting at.
In that pool, I understand. And just to be clear, the motion has been made and seconded, right? Deputy Mayor, so, yeah, okay. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, with Councillor Johnson, would you be looking for me to contact the next person who got the next highest level number of votes to see whether they were eligible, and then work my way down until I found someone who is not only eligible but also willing to take the seat?
To the chair, I basically would like you to start where we're starting, and then we can decide where we have to go. Okay, we're gonna go with the one person, and then you can decide what you gotta do. But just to let everybody, to notify everybody, no, I'm not in favor of doing that at this stage.
Okay, so it sounds like at this stage, then, the motion that stands is to consider option 1A to reach out to the runner-up in the seat. And then it looks like we would come back to council at a special meeting with further direction should that individual not wish to hold that seat. Is that the nods I'm seeing? Councillor Watt, were you going to add something?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, we could, it's not something we probably even have to meet on if the first candidate doesn't take it. We could probably do a Zoom meeting for that one, to kind of help with people's schedules, but it's not like we don't have to come here. We can, but we certainly don't have to. But I'd like to see, let's see what the first one does, and that gives us more time to look over the extra candidates here, which honestly, I didn't do. I just thought, that was my first choice, was because I thought that was the proper thing to do. And I never thought about going to someone else on the list. But if that's in 1A, which I apologize, I didn't read it properly, then I would want more time anyway to think, okay, who would I want second on the list? So I would like that in a separate meeting.
Okay, understood. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, we will call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to item 10.6, the 2025 ice storm wrap-up and MDRA funding, and that is Mr. Davis. I was thinking it was Mr. Kramer. Over to you, sir.
To the mayor and members of council, just wanted to give you sort of a wrap-up report on the significant weather event and ice storm we received on March 30th. As I think everybody is well aware, we've had a commenter this evening speak to the cleanup that has happened. And I just sort of, I think, sort of give you sort of some overview or sort of what our guiding principles were as we entered into and how we navigated our way through the state of emergency. I would say, we provide a list here of sort of what guided our efforts in terms of, protecting the public from harm, keeping our residents informed of what was available through our whatever channels we had available to us, clear our roads for emergency response, maintain service availability as best as possible, protect the municipal buildings from cold weather, plan for debris receipt as residents move to recovery, and then record the costs for emergency response. As I'm sure you will find, then I lay out sort of through a series of week by weeks, the things that we went through or the actions that we took that brought us all the way up to June 1st when we finished collecting brush and debris at the transfer station for free. And now that is all done, we get to talk about or discuss how much this cost us to go through this entire process, and the Municipal Disaster Recovery Assistance Program, to which we are planning to apply. So in the financial section, Mr. Kramer outlines what is related to the MDRA program and what our eligibility is. So the province has indicated that in particular, all the communities in Peterborough County are eligible regardless of the cost or expense that we went to. What I can say is, and as we talked about money and budget earlier, these types of events, which is our second within the last 5 years, are not inexpensive. The cleanup efforts and costs associated with our cleanup so far have cost the township over $300,000 in direct costs. And we are eligible to reclaim through the program $175,825.94. So better than half, but not substantially better than half. These are expensive programs. This was an expensive emergency. We had a lot of different moving parts in terms of cleanup and how we deployed throughout the township, and a number of expenses that both were eligible and ineligible. What I can say is we are looking forward to the application. That process, that application or application of that program is due on July 28th. I recognize that a resident has asked for some reconsideration about the timeline for dropping off brush. I leave that up to council to make that decision or have that discussion. Happy to sort of provide some input. What I would say is that in likelihood, if we opened up the opportunity to provide some brush, continue to accept free brush drop off, we would have to cap it at a certain time so that some of those expenses would be could be eligible to be entered into that program. I'm not sure that we could do a whole month, but I notice our neighbors, or I suggest our neighbors are in Selwyn are allowing have extended their brush drop off until July 5th. And so if that was the decision of council, that would be what would be my recommendation. Otherwise, I think the report is relatively straightforward. Today, we are seeking, as part of the application program to the recovery assistance, a resolution of council so that we can include that with our application. Treasurer Paul Kramer is with us today. He's happy to answer any of your financial questions. I'm happy to answer any of the operational questions that were related to our managing of the emergency and how we got through.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor, before you speak to it, just briefly for clarification, Todd, you said something about 300, it was over 300,000. Your report is referencing a total of 231,000. So I'm just wondering where that mathed from.
So the costs of the cleanup were, those are the 231,000 that's referenced in the table of expenses are eligible expenses. We also took on $80,000 of ineligible expenses, which is the second column over. Those are also related, but were ineligible to be participating in the program. So that when you add those two figures together, it gets us up over 300,000.
Understood. Thank you. Sorry, I wasn't carrying that line over. Thank you for that clarification. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just question I have we been receiving a lot of phone calls from people wanting to still continue bringing brush?
Through the mayor to the deputy mayor, not many at this stage. Recognize that we have some cottagers that are in the area that may not have been as well informed, but most of our local residents were very well informed. I'm not suggesting that everyone's cleaned up yet or how they're dealing with all of the leftover debris, but in reality that we have not.
Thank you. Just one more follow-up. I don't know how many, I don't know how many, I have not received any phone calls about the brush. I did speak to one person and they were just wondering when the cutoff was, and I relayed that on to them, but I don't know whether the rest of council has received many thoughts or many calls from anybody wanting to still get rid of the brush. I know with it being open so long over at the county and everybody was taking brush all the different places. I think a lot of people, for the most part, got their brush cleaned up. I think it's cleaned up, and it comes to a point where it's just my thoughts. It's gotta end. If you look at the expense, we've got a lot of expense for this township, and it comes to a cutoff. And I had one person, I did speak to one person, and I asked them to take their brush to the transfer station, and they could still pay. There's no reason why they can't take the brush there, but they do have to pay. So I think it comes to a point where, just my thoughts, you have to end it. We can't keep on going on and on and on. Like, it's people have a responsibility to look after it when it's free, and if they don't, well, we can't continue on. We have huge expenses here, and everybody else has already cleaned that up, and why does everybody else have to pay for people that, no disrespect, but no disrespect at all, but it does come to a point where you have to cut the program off.
Thank you for that. Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, through the chair. Got a question. When we get it to the landfill site, do we actually then chip it? Like, what are we doing with the ethanol up there? And I got another question on top.
Through the mayor to Councillor Johnson, yes. So when the brush is dropped off, so we've had a large quantity of brush dropped off. We've already had, so we have it's not chipped, it's ground. It goes through a grinder. So I call him the grinder. I'm not really sure what his technical term is. But he comes, we've had that happen once. So we've had a large quantity of brush dropped off. We've had the individual come and grind that material up. We reserve some of it to give out as mulch to people that are interested. But the reality is we create too much. And so then we have to dispose of it or send some of it away. We have now have another large pile. We are in the queue. There are not many people that do this work in Ontario. And so we'll have to wait. But I think they're scheduled to come within the next couple of weeks to our community.
Okay, so the chair, just comment then, if we leave it, if we open it up till July, example, and there's more being put in there, like for years, the stuff would sit. And we went and grind it or chip it, whatever it be. And therefore, if it's not all chipped right now, I don't think that's in the world. I mean, some can stay there because for years, that's what we did. So I don't have a problem. Like the way I look at it is that I drive around a lot of places and I see steel piles around now. Maybe they're getting their neighbors or maybe they were getting a contractor, whoever. But some of them are older people and waiting for help to get the taken away. I know that for a fact because I've been asked through an organization to help these people. So I think there still is need. And like I say, the cottagers, even though they're starting to come back, that's great, but they're not, a lot of them aren't here yet. Maybe here for the weekend and gone, but they're starting to come. And I think we got to treat them not any better than anybody else, but I do think we got to treat them fair and for their time they're here. And so I'm very supportive of extending this to July 5th.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions? Counselor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. First off, I'm concerned, the July 5th, is that, that's a Saturday, okay, correct? Yeah. So, I do realize that there's, I haven't had a whole lot of phone calls. I have had people ask me, you know, hey, can we take it to the transfer station? The Halls Glen one, I don't think ever takes garbage or brush, except in this particular thing. I think it has to go to the one at Stony Lake Road or County Road 6 towards Highway 28. And I guess they do charge. I've never been in there since we had a road tour, but and this gentleman here, he came tonight with a legitimate ask, and there's probably quite a few more that would love to have another couple of weekends to get their cottage cleaned up or their land stuff like that. I don't have a problem going till the 5th, but that would be the end of end of the freebies, and must have your dump card with you too, because if we open it up, you never know who's going to show up. You must have that dump card with you to dispose of it. But that would be my thoughts on it.
Thank you, Counselor Watt. So we've got lots of thoughts, but no motions. Does anyone want to make a motion on that? Counselor
Yeah,
Johnson?
through the chair, I'll make the motion that we extend the hours to July 5th for the free drop off of brush.
And just for clarification, I see hands going up. When you say extend the hours, are we talking normal operating hours and we're accepting brush, or are you talking about additional staff time?
No, normal operation.
Normal operating hours during our summer hours, accepting brush for free with their card. That's the motion? Okay. Is that why you're here with the note?
No, to you, I also request that you pass the resolution as well, so we can apply for the,
We'll get there.
okay.
So that's the motion. Does anyone want to second that motion? Counselor Watt, any discussion on the motion? Before I call for the vote, I agree with my colleagues on this one. I think that more time is needed for folks. We can't have an open-ended timeline on this. Ideally, we are going to leverage the funding that we can access to help offset that cost to Douro-Dummer Township taxpayers. But I'm also fundamentally concerned about the amount of fuel, firewood that's in the woods all around us. And I'm hearing cases and stories of people dumping brush on other people's property or, jamming it off. And, and I'm concerned that might be because people don't realize or don't have another option to take that brush. And, certainly as last summer we were, very dry and tinderish, and heaven forbid that we end up in a situation where our volunteer firefighters have to go in and there's just an excessive amount of brush kind of heaped up perfectly just for fires to go off. So I'm definitely in support of the motion that's before us to extend it through until July 5th. So on that, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. Now let's go back to the MDRA funding. Any discussion or questions on the report, the balance of the report?
Just one question through the chair. Now, the brush that comes in, would be some of that eligible to push that up higher? Just a question.
To the mayor, through the mayor to Councilor Johnson. Of course, if there's costs associated, so, um, um, regular operating costs. So we will be opening the land transfer station during its regular operating hours. Those costs are not eligible to be covered. If the brush is dropped off, if if it's there when the grinder comes and it adds additional costs to the grinding work that gets done, then those costs would be eligible. But otherwise, we may collect more after the grinder arrives. We may not elect to bring in a grinder again. And so we probably would, would sit in a pile there for a period of time.
Thank you. Any other questions? Counselor Watt?
No, I was just going to make a motion to receive the report with thanks and with all the financials that are in it. And also, again, extend a big thank you to all the staff that and outside help that's got us through this situation.
Some technicalities on the motion.
And we're going to apply, or a motion to apply for the funding for the relief program, or recovery of assistance program. Added to my, yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Johnson, you'll second that. Any discussion on the motion? Again, before I call for the vote, I'll speak on this one as well. Just to piggyback on Counselor Watt, your comments in terms of thanking staff, through and through, all of our staff and contractors to help through this. But also I want to call out thanks to the warden, the MPP, and our premier, through the advocacy work that that's been done, including myself sitting with the premier, coming to the Douro Depot and seeing the damage. We were able to get that 3% cap removed. Now, fortunately, we're just slightly over that 3% cap. But I feel that had we not had the confidence that we would have those bills covered, and the premier said to me straight up, just send those bills through to me and I'll take care of them, we wouldn't have been as confident or comfortable in making those expenditures. So again, thank you to the warden and NPP for working with the premier and getting the premier here so we could have those conversations. The other thing I wanted to just highlight that's not in the report but was publicly announced on Monday is that the township was successful in an application to Hydro One for some funding for storm relief in the amount of $10,000. When we're looking at a price tag of over 300,000, 10,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but of course we know that every little bit helps. And thanks to staff for acting quickly to get that application in and get those funds released as soon as we were able to do so. So on that, I will call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to committee minutes and other reports. So we have the Douro-Dummer Public Library Board meeting minutes from May 13th. Just looking for a motion to receive those. Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councillor Johnston. All in favor? And that motion carries. And then a number of items under correspondence, keeping in mind we have 12.7 and 12.8 that we added earlier. So starting with 12.1, the municipality of North Grenville, what would you like to do with this, council?
To receive it.
A motion to receive? And does anyone want to second that? Councillor Watt, any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. City of Peterborough, this is item 12.2 regarding Bill 6, Safer Municipalities Act. What would you like to do with that? Deputy Mayor? A motion to receive from Deputy Mayor Nelson, and that anyone want to second that? Councillor Watt? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. 12.3 Peterborough County Staff Report, comments on Bill 17. Lots of bills. Busy bills. Councillor Johnston.
Make a motion to receive and support.
Receive and support from Councillor Johnston. Councillor Watt, looks like you're seconding that. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Town of Whitechurch, Stouffville, item 12.4 regarding provincial funding shortfall of human and health programs and services. What would you like to do? Deputy Mayor? Motion to receive from Deputy Mayor Nelson. Anyone want to second that? Councillor Watt? Any
I'd rather also support that.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor currently to receive. Any discussion on that? Or you can withdraw and. Okay. Okay. Counselor Watts, okay with that? Any discussion on that? All in favor? And that motion carries. That was 12.4. On to 12.5, City of Pickering. Regarding Raising Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support Program. What would you like to do with that? Counselor Watt? Receive and support. Anyone want to second that? Counselor Johnston, any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. 12.6, District of Parry Sound Municipal Association, supporting municipal ethics through access and education. What would you like to do with that? Counselor Johnston?
To receive.
A motion to receive. Counselor Watt will second that. Any discussion on that? All in favor? And that motion carries. 12.7, Counselor Watt, I believe this was the item that you asked to hold regarding the Birchcliff Property Owners Association BPOA annual meeting. I'm just flipping back here. Counselor Watt?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Through you. Yes, I just wanted to bring this to the forefront that they're having their annual meeting. They've always invited staff, council to come to the meeting. Sometimes they have a few questions that are tough to answer, and Councillor Johnson and I did our best last year to look after that in your absence. But I just want to make sure that everyone was aware that it was going on. Camp Kawartha, July 26, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. And we'll see who goes there, but I will be attending for sure. So it does say to RSVP, so I don't know whether that was for all of us or whether we should just individually do it or just, yeah. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I won't comment on the other.
Fair enough. Just your microphone, please, Counselor. I did receive a separate invitation and confirming the date, and I did confirm that I would be able to be there. I think last year they ran some dates past me, and I approved a number of dates, and then they ended up going with a totally different date, and I was out of town on that date. But I will be there, and they're expecting me. And I think if you do RSVP with your attendance, I'll make sure that they have enough time allotted on the agenda as well. So for any member of council who's planning on attending, and thank you for flagging that, Councillor Watt.
One more, if possible, when we're replying to the guy, last year it was pretty straightforward, but there was a question or two in there that kind of hit us sideways. If we kind of had a little bit of an idea of maybe what they'd want to ask council about ahead of time, we could be a little bit more prepared. We did have to come back and and get some answers from staff, stuff like that. Not that that's a bad thing, but I mean, we did kind of, oh, do you not have that answer? It's like, well, sorry, not off the top of my head. So if we could get a bit of an idea from them what to expect for questions for the township side of things, that would certainly be beneficial.
Sure. I think it might be worthwhile, Councillor Watt, for you, if you are RSVPing, to ask the president who sent through that invitation. I know I had asked about some clarity on the agenda in terms of, I think they have 40 minutes set aside for council, and I'm like, surely you don't want me to give a keynote. Yeah, right. So I don't know if I don't recall if there were specific issues that were listed, to be honest, but it might be worth following up with the organizers directly, and they may survey their members. So we just need a motion to receive that at this point, right? We hadn't received that yet. Councillor Watt, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? And that motion carries. And now we're on to item 12.8. And this was a MAF for, I believe, Leahy. I don't have the number in front of me. Who pulled that? Councillor Johnston, you had pulled that, right?
I did, yeah. Yeah, through the chair, going over that and being around when they built the house on that property. I don't think the municipality, the approval form severance, which was B 34-75, was examined thoroughly. There's some comments that were made that that property, when it was developed, which was 175 years ago, it was cut in by Indian River, and so you couldn't get a full 50 acres at the time. And therefore, there's a couple things there that I would like the the committee to look at. One is that, that they don't have to do that, changing the format of getting, what they're asking for. Um, Anyways, what they're asking for to do for the property, like they basically want to separate the property, and it's been a farmland for that many years. And I don't think that we can really, we got to recognize that. And then the second thing is, when they did that road on the first line, the setback right now has got to be a good 20 feet, which most are, that's from the road or in, and most of the roads are not like that. Most of them have got a setback of maybe 8 feet, and then therefore the township takes 3 feet, 3 meters, I guess it is, that's 3 feet. But therefore, it's to take what they want to take over and above what's already there, would be, you know, 1/4 of an acre, cutting into that 48 or 49 acres. So I'd like the committee to revisit that and look at all the different scenarios we got. And I don't think that the Mr. Leahy was notified that that of this concern, and that even that this was going to be brought up tonight to be able to pass this, that it'd be putting that burden on them. So I think I would like the committee to revisit that. They want to do, they want to do zone, that's what they wanted to do. And I can't see that would need that.
Okay, so Counselor Johnson, you're looking to revisit the rezoning and the 3-meter strip, which are
Mhm.
requirements number 2 and 6 on the MAF.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what you mean when you want the committee to relook at that. I think it's simply just gone through.
Well, I
Planning at
don't know that they had all the, I don't know that they had all the information in front of them. I know they went to they got the county approval and all this kind of stuff. I know they got all the other approvals, but I don't know that they really know the specs on that property.
Okay, CEO?
So we don't make decisions at this, here related to land division. That's made at the Land Division Committee at Peterborough County. So those are our comments, or requests that we had going forward, which are pretty standard requests. Recognizing deficient zone standards oftentimes result in the requirement to rezone the property, which is why we would have generally asked that. And I think it's become pretty standard practice, or at least it is generally standard practice, that we ask for 3 meters in the event of road widening. Those are the reasons why we would normally do that. If you're asking for staff to reconsider those and come back at a future date with a report that outlines why we would ask for those conditions, then, you know, I'm sure we could do that. It's just going to delay that application's passing through passing on to the Land Division Committee as well.
Comment on that, like, as I was saying, right now, the fence is in a good 20 feet plus right now. And the reason it was done that way, in back in those days, there was a house sitting right there, and they built the road around the house. So therefore, that's why the footage is way back right now, that they got no use of that. I'm using the 20 feet, it could be at least 20 feet. So that's why I'd like to see that changed on that 3 meters.
Counselor, or pardon me, Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Yeah, I might make a suggestion that we actually, Ray, I don't want to melt or rain on your parade there, but maybe send it back to the county and then let another report come back to this council to discuss or to pass. So I would say let the applicant take it back to, we don't make any motion or any commitment tonight for any of it, and let the applicant take it back to the county and then work them details out with the county and then come back for our approval. That's what I would suggest, but.
Or pardon me, Counselor Johnson?
No, I think the applicant would be supportive of doing that, sending it back to the county to let them revisit with some new information.
Okay, so we don't accept comments from the gallery. Okay, so moving on, I'm concerned, and I don't know from a planning standpoint, CEO Davis, if you're in a position to comment on this, on behalf of our planner. In, oh, Mr. Hellman, you might be able to answer. Um, as it relates to our required timelines and what the process could be at this point in time for where we are at right now and the concerns that are being raised by a counselor, I'm assuming on behalf of the applicant and their agent, because this isn't a public meeting and there's some concern about the process. So what are our options under planning legislation and where does this go from here? Like, are we required to move this forward within a certain timeline?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we have provided comment to the county already. We have a policy that has delegated authority to staff to provide those comments. The current property, when the severance was to happen, the consent was to happen, the severed parcel would not meet, the use on the severed parcel would not meet our zoning bylaw, the regulations within it. So comment was given that a rezoning would be needed. If council is asking us to rescind those comments, we would then reach out to the county to do so. They will need to make a decision. Like we are not the approval authority. We're only a commenting agency. So we can choose not to comment in a way, but it's still, we owe them the comments. If we rescind them and we wish to, if council directs us to give different comment, then I guess we can, but it doesn't meet the zoning. If it's, so the proposed use, they have a deficiency, and that's why it's been suggested that way. And then the 3-meter road widening, it is standard for us to take it. We're only allowed to take it on the retained or on the severed portion, not on the retained. And it is standard procedure on all consent applications that the township and the county both do it, as we take that for road widening. It protects the township for if there is works to be done, we don't have to purchase that land at another date. So anything that we're unable to acquire, if needed, we would have to purchase from the property owner.
Thank you for that clarification. I've got Deputy Mayor Nelson and then Councillor Johnston again.
Thank you, through the mayor. If the applicant chose though to change which was retained and which is severed, that will change that's my understanding of what they might like to do. So if that changed, that will change the road widening will be just for the severed, not the retained. If I'm correct, I believe that. Is that correct? Sorry.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor. That is correct. If I could, just because I think it's prudent that we get in front of this, is you may then find that there is also a yard deficiency if they switch them, and the rezoning would need to happen on the then severed parcel. One has a structure on it. And so if we take the 3 meters from the smaller portion, if they switch them, then they may not, I don't have the file in front of me to know, but they may still require a rezoning. But the amount of property we take for the road widening, those still would happen, wouldn't be, I believe Councillor Johnson, you said 1/4 of an acre, and it would only be the 3 meters across the smaller parcel of land.
Councillor Johnston?
And I understand what you're saying there. The thing is, the 3 meters that we would take, would that be over and above where it is right now? Like, if you look in the property, I guess, in 20 feet off the road, like where it is. So I can't imagine if that would come from the 3 meters should be from the 20 feet compared to going another 3 meters onto the property.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I can't verify that the visual property line, i.e. the fence, is the exact property line, but the 3 meters would be from the property line that exists today, further encroaching, like getting closer into the property. But I can't verify that the fence that exists is the property line. I'm not sure where the property line is.
Did you have your hand up, Senior Davis? Okay. Great. Council, what would you like to do with this?
Send notice back to the applicant to revisit themselves, where they can maybe contact the county and what they would like to, how they would process with this, deal with this.
Mr. Helen, were you gonna say something?
Sorry, through Madam Mayor, I don't, our comments have been sent. I think that if the applicant wished to amend their application, they would just deal with the county. I don't think that's something that would be direction given by the township staff. By all means, the applicant or agent can reach out to the county and seek to reverse those. Like,
Mr. Moher? Thank you.
Through the mayor to council, I think the prudent move is to ask the county, if we reach out to the county and ask them to hold this application and defer decision on this tonight. The next scheduled council meeting is in August, so we can work with the county to, they are the decision-making authority, but we can revisit this matter and come back in August with a report, I would say, where we talk, because this is obviously moved from a non-contentious land severance file to or land division file to a contentious one. And so we could bring a report back in August on this.
Councillor Johnson, you held, is that the motion you want to make? To defer and have staff work with the county and come back? Okay, does anyone want to second that motion? Deputy Mayor Nelson, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to notices of motion. We have two before us. The first one is 15.1, a proposal to reduce speed limit on Douro second line. And Councillor Johnson, this is yours, so I'll let you kick it off.
All right, basically, I'm waiting to hear what staff has recommending to proceed with this request that I put forward.
Okay, so I believe at this point in time, the notice of motion is just, the motion is requesting, like, if passed tonight, then staff will look into it. That's how the notice of motion works. So,
Then I'll make the motion, the staff look to my request for reducing the speed limit on the third line. Or
Second
second
line?
line, 60 kilometers an hour from County Road 8 down to Division Road.
okay, so we have that motion on the floor. Does anyone want to second that? Deputy Mayor Nelson? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Oh, hold on. Oh, okay, your mic, please.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Ray, I think it would be, I agree with you 100% that we need to lower the speed limit through there, especially with all the people and parking and kids and soccer. And I don't know whether you're adamant, Ray, about the whole section of road. I just see maybe like the section prior to both ends of the park, both north and south. Is that something you would want to suggest to staff to take a look at? Instead of the whole section?
Like going south is not that, it's not that far of a distance, but going north, you know, I can understand it, but I think it'd be hard to put a sign halfway down the road. You know, I mean, it's just it's just signage to protect the people that are on the road, all the time, getting into vehicles that are across the road. Now, the parking that we're creating will help a lot. I can understand that. That'll help a lot. But if you drive around the 60s that we've got all around everywhere, and then something like this here, where it is potential to something happen, I think I can't see blocking half the road off. I put in the whole road.
It would just require basically a sign wherever the bylaw pertains to on the road section. I just see it as you probably won't, the police will probably never, they'll enforce the whole road. But if you put the enforcement right in front of the park, I think the police would definitely look at that. But that's just my thoughts and comments towards it. But staff will need to know that what they're looking at before we say the whole road, or if that's what you want, Ray, well, it's your motion.
Thanks, through the chair. No, I want to go to the office. They can, the staff can look at it and let them, I can suggest something. They know my concerns. They know the concerns of the public and you know, there's people that run ball and soccer and that, their concerns have been there for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't over. And therefore, I'm going to put it back in the hands of the staff, the report. If they feel that there's just an area there, I can live with that, because that is the area that I'm wanting to concentrate on.
Right.
So I'm going to name it back to the staff.
Thank you, Counselor, Deputy Mayor Mike. We have a motion on the floor. Counselor, what was your hand up? Okay, I just have a question of staff on this. Would staff be looking at doing or pulling Black Cat data or to inform the report that comes to council in any stretch of imagination?
Through the mayor back to the mayor. Yes, probably this would sort of guide we would probably deploy, the manager of public works is working with Peterborough County. We have some speed signs. I would imagine that this would, I believe it's on the list this year to monitor speed on that road. But I would imagine this would create a greater priority, and we would seek to get that information prior to bringing a report back to council, so we could sort of demonstrate or make a case as to what the situation is.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion that's on the floor. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. And then our second notice of motion that's on the agenda is Deputy Mayor Nelson, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to ask the clerk to read off the motion if Martina will do that for me, if you don't mind. It's fairly lengthy, so.
Through you, Madam Mayor, on behalf of the Deputy Mayor. Whereas the Township of Douro-Dummer completed a service delivery and organizational review in 2020, which provided recommendations to the way in which the building and planning services are delivered. And whereas the Council of the Township of Douro-Dummer adopted a new strategic plan in 2024, which laid out core values of service excellence and transparency and strategic pillars of service modernization and innovation, along with business attraction, expansion, and retention. And where there has been a change in operation of the Building and Planning Department due to the retirement of the Township Planner. And whereas the delivery of economic development services has been moved from the former Peterborough and Kawarthas Economic Development Corporation to the County of Peterborough. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Douro-Dummer directs staff to engage a third-party consultant to review the processes related to the Building and Planning Department along with the Economic Development Portfolio, with the goal of improving efficiency and customer service. And be it further resolved that the review process include consultation with staff and members of the community. And be it further resolved that the outcome of this review include, but not be limited to, 1, finding efficiencies that do not compromise public safety. 2, increasing communication and processes between township departments. 3, including metrics by which community satisfaction can be measured and monitored. And 4, producing plain language models of understanding for the general public.
Do you want to speak to that at all, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks for doing that for me, Martina. I think it pretty much spells it out. Pretty much spells it out in that what has been said, and I feel very strongly about taking a look at them 3 departments and any efficiencies or the amount of complaints that I have received, and I believe all of us as council has received, that we need to take a look at them efficiencies and find efficiencies and better customer service for our ratepayers with all them departments, not to really chastise anybody or pick out anybody individually, but it's certainly maybe it's stuff that we're blinded by. I don't know, but we need to have somebody look at that and any efficiencies that we can improve on and come up with. I think it's better for our people that are doing business with us. I keep on hearing that Douro-Dummer is not open for business. I don't really disagree with everything that I'm being told, but there is some stuff that is probably maybe true. So we need to get to the bottom of that and come up with efficiencies and hopefully make things better. That's my thoughts.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, for your motion. Does anyone? No, we're not seconding it because it's the first time. Right, so it's going to come back for debate and discussion at our August 5th meeting, our next meeting of council, and we'll wait for that to come forward at that time. Thank you. Okay, moving on to announcements. Does anybody have any announcements they wish to make? Councillor Johnston.
Just say a few things here. First, July 1st, we're in the July 1st in Douro line, starting on County Road 4. And we're asking people who are going to be in the parade. I haven't kept the names forward, but other ones show up, and that's great. We're going to entertain everybody. But we're asking them to be there around 2 or shortly after. We want to start the parade at 2:30. And all the organizations that have to contact have contacted. And we go down to the village. We have a cake that we cut up and deliver to everybody, just the kids, but everybody, and some drinks and that. So we'd like to get the word out, the more the better. We're putting a lot on in Douro right now, so there's other work done, which is nice for other to see what's going on in Douro. And so the parade starts at 2:30, like I said. And I guess I should say the parade this year is going to be that we can dress up accordingly. Maybe can you help me out with that, Martina? Yeah, in the meantime, I'll go on to the next. Is that on July 5th at the Douro Hall, we're celebrating the 200-year celebration of the settlement, and people coming from Ireland. Yeah, and there's going to be in the hall in Douro in the afternoon, July 5th. There's displays and that going on. There's going to be a barbecue outside, probably in the neighborhood around 4, 6, and then after that, they're going to move out to the Douro Arena, where the Leahy family is to be playing at the Douro on July 5th. That's going on in the village of Douro. Okay, Tina, did you come up with a theme for that day?
Through
that
you,
correct?
Madam Mayor, to Councillor Johnson, the theme is celebrating the Canadian spirit, and participants and visitors are requested to bring flags and wear red and white.
Okay, that's what we will be doing, red and white, and I hope that most of council can attend, which they always do, and I hope the community will support this July 1st parade. Thank you. Pardon me? Okay. Cruise night. This is a funny story. Cruise night is every Wednesday night over in Warsaw. And the last four, including now, maybe fifth, Wednesday night is called for rain. And four of them was fortunate. They didn't start the rain till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I don't know about tomorrow night. Again, they're calling for rain. But anyways, we have cruise night. We do a barbecue starting at 5 o'clock. The participants that have old cars and that, they come out and we have some music. We started very small and as we get the word out. I started probably with 10 cars. The last Thursday night we had 25 cars. So it's growing steadily as the word gets out. And we like the people to come out and participate in that. And so have a bite to eat. That's put on by the Lions in Warsaw.
Thank you, Counselor, for those announcements. Are there any other announcements from council? I'll jump in. July 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. We're doing our lemonade and listening event is what we're calling it. So similar to the coffee with council that we held in the fall. So that will be happening, weather pending. I don't know if it's a Wednesday. I think it's a Tuesday night. Weather pending in the park. No, it is rain or shine, but we're doing it outside of the park or inside. Yeah, I was getting there. We're not going to cancel it like the cruise nights if it rains. No, if the weather is nice, we'll do this in Millennium Park next door right here. And if it is raining, we'll do it in the town hall or in the council chambers in this room right here. So that's the lemonade and listening on July 8th. So the public is welcome to come and engage with council. Anything else? Seeing nothing further. We have no closed session. We just need our confirming bylaw. Deputy Mayor Nelson on the confirming bylaw. Thank you. Councillor Johnston seconded. All in favor? That carries. Just a reminder, we have committee of the whole meeting. That's tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And then our regular council meeting, as noted earlier, is on August 5th as we break for the month of July. And a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Johnston. All in favor?